Okay, I think we're recording. So where we're picking up today is the last video I did showed the first 20 minutes of his first day at work. I did the long reins on the same size circle, 5 days for an hour every day. I saw some really good improvements. Then I was out of town, so he just had 3 days off. So we're going to pick up with where we left off. And I'm just going to show you maybe 5, this will be a little bit longer video because I want to show sort of the 5, before I could get it out of my mouth, I was thinking he might be ready for a little trot work today. So what I wanted to show again was just the warm-up, a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. So you can see, pulling him out cold with 3 days off, this is where we are. And what I thought is the walk was looking pretty good by the end of 5 days. So today I was going to play around with a little bit of the trot. So I'm just going to time it, and I'm going to give him 5 minutes to the left at the walk. Then I'm going to give him 5 minutes to the right at the walk, so you can sort of see even in the warm-up after a couple days off, he's a lot more stable. I had to put the fleece on the nose band because the halter was rubbing his nose a little bit. But he's not as crazy-legged. He's a lot more stable through his back and hindquarter. He's feeling pretty good. He already looks more relaxed, less drawn up. It's still a work in progress. So this week, when I start riding him, I'm going to be using the long reins as the warm-up before I ride him to keep strengthening this levelness with the engagement required for this size circle. So he's not rushing so much, he's not falling in or pulling out so much. He's still working to stabilize, to engage and stabilize the hindquarter. But you can see this warm-up compared to the first warm-up, it's just a smoother walk. It's a lot more stable. There's not so much rocking back and forth through the pelvis or the back. And this is literally coming straight out of the pasture, throwing the halter on him and getting started after 3 days off. So he's a quick student. He likes the work we're doing, makes him feel better. And this is where we're at. So I'll just do a few more minutes this way so you can kind of see. He's not quite so bent to the inside or bent to the outside or falling off the path of travel. He's lighter in my hands on the long reins, which also tells me he's carrying himself a lot better. My corrections are not as obvious and extreme. They're faster and lighter, which is him learning to stabilize himself on this size circle. I like that he's lengthening the neck more. He will go into a deep, long and low like that, which is actually at the walk in the warm-up what I would like to see more of. Sort of nose on the ground, lengthening the muscles of the top line and the neck, and then bumping him up to trot, I'll get a little bit more pushing power rather than pulling power. So like I said, this warm-up I'm very happy with compared to the last video. We'll give him 1 more minute. I'll do a quick 5 minutes. This was his easier side, which is why I start on this direction. This has definitely been his easier direction and a little more comfortable. So, especially since he's new into the training, I like to go with the path of least resistance. Good, so then I'm going to go ahead and change direction, and I'm just going to ask for the walk. And this has been his harder side. So like I said, you could see in the last video how wobbly he was, where he was really physically struggling to get his stability to the right last time. Whoops. This time, he starts off in the warm-up a lot more stable. He's a little heavier, he makes bigger mistakes this direction still, which just tells me we have a little catching up to do with the sort of functionality and stability of the right hind leg. Yeah, so here he just pulls on me a little more, but not horrible. It's just heavier than when he goes the other way. So he has a harder time controlling his body weight from falling forward this direction, even on the same size circle. But the blowing is good, the relaxing is good. And you can see that stability in the walk starting to really come through. And that really did take about 5 one-hour sessions where I would do 30 minutes to the left and then 30 minutes to the right. And he just kept getting better and better last week. So what I was hoping for today, which is what it looks like will happen, is once he has his 5 minutes of walk each way in the warm-up, I'm going to go back to the easy side and I'm going to start playing with a little bit of trot on this same small circle. If he can't trot on this size circle, then I might make the circle a little bigger just so he can play with the trot. And I'd like to have him just kind of this stable. You can see from last week's work, this horse looks a lot easier to ride than where he started last week. That's what I mean by stability. There's just a little bit better rhythm, a little more equal leg use, not a lot of rolling side to side through the hindquarter and the back, and he's not constantly falling in or pulling out. Oh, the mosquitoes are bad. I forgot to spray him and me. Yeah, so this direction, I'm going to give him a full 5 minutes. You can see he's doing it, but it's just more errors, more struggle than the other direction by comparison. But the lengthening of the neck like that, even though he's also falling forward, that lengthening of the neck is the result of the stability, taking away the rolling effect of the back and the pelvis, right? He's not stable or engaged enough to be long without falling low, but I'm very happy with that for now. Oh, these guys are eating me alive. They like my white legs when I don't wear riding pants. Okay, so we'll give him 2 more minutes. And you can see as he slows down, he can lengthen the neck when he goes a little slower. The lengthening of the neck voluntarily is him telling me that he's starting to feel more stable through his back and hindquarter. The shortening of the neck is when he gets a little unstable through the hindquarter and the back, and he tries to tighten his neck for stability. So even if he fell into a deep version of long and low right now, that wouldn't be the worst thing, because that would really tell me he no longer needs to tighten on the front end because he's starting to trust the stability in the hindquarter and back where it should be, right? And even with the hock arthritis, he has not shown pain resistance. He's just sort of quietly gotten more and more stable, balancing through his hind legs better and better. And you can see there's just less struggle than the first day. So that sort of quiet eye, the ears sort of half out where he's concentrating, the lack of huge errors, there's little errors going on, but the lack of big mistakes and big swings and lots of resistance, all of that is what tells me the balance is improving, that he's getting the hang of a better coordination. Okay, so there's my 5 minutes. So now I'm going to go back to the easier direction to introduce the trot. And I literally have not asked, and other than what you saw when I first put him on the long reins, he has not really offered to trot. So he's been a pretty chilled out guy. So when I start to introduce the trot, I'm not going to make him hold the trot, because the braking and pushing use of the hind leg placement, the muscle use of the hindquarter, the rotation of the pelvis, the use of the back muscle, all of that strengthens faster through transitions than it does if I make him maintain any gait other than the walk. So I'm going to try bumping him up to trot, and once I get the transition, my job is over until he walks, as far as pushing. So I'm going to push. I'm just going to kind of shake the rope behind him, chase him up a little bit, till it there's my trot transition. Then I'm doing exactly the same thing at the trot that I did at the walk. He didn't trot very long. That's fine. It might be hard for him to balance at the trot on this tight of a circle, but staying on the circle is what keeps the hind legs underneath him, while the long reins help him stay level. So I'm going to try this about 10 minutes, right? I don't care how long he trots. I don't care how often he trots. He can break whenever he wants. I let him know he can break whenever he wants by not chasing him and correcting him as soon as he breaks to the walk. Give him a little bit of walk, and I'm going to ask for another trot. So even in these short bits of trot, he's having to push correctly and break correctly. That's the point. So the more transitions I get, the better. He's calm enough that he's not just taking off at the trot. So his fast trot has more to do with him trying to find stability. So once again, when I go up to trot, he's heavier on the inside rein, right? He wants to pull outward from the circle. Trot. So all I need him to do in little bits of trot like that is learn, right, how to engage, how to use his back to push up to the next speed and come down. And the up and the down and the up and the down through the transitions is how they eventually find their unique cadence, their unique trot, where they start to balance the pushing and the braking. What's pretty good is that he's not slamming on the brakes. He's just going from trot to walk, trot to walk. Not all horses do that. Sometimes they blast into trot and pull like crazy and trot for 20 minutes, and then they suddenly slam on the brakes. He's really pretty reasonable, right? But his trot, you can tell, he gets a little tight, a little fast, a little unstable. So he's using speed to try to stabilize him, but that's not working very well on this tiny circle. So he's braking to the walk a lot. I would prefer that he brake to the walk, because that's exactly through the transitions how we're going to improve the trot and improve the balance. So the calmer he gets, the more frequently I can ask for the upward transition. But once he's trotting, I'm just balancing him between the reins and waiting for him to choose the walk. So every time he chooses it, I just let him walk a little bit, and then I ask for another one. So it takes the pressure off of the upward transition, it takes the excitement out of it, and it gets him thinking, how do I get comfortable? Right? So horses break gait for one reason. They don't feel stable. So as soon as he doesn't feel stable in the trot, he can break to the walk. I can give him a minute or two to stabilize at the walk, and then have him try it again. All right, so that's 5 minutes. I'm going to do another 5 minutes, and we'll see sort of what he figures out in that time today. This is his first trot day, first attempt on the long reins, on the circle. Trot. So this is a little longer video. It'll be a 30-minute video. Once I've done 10 minutes of walk-trot transitions to the easy direction, then we'll tackle 10 minutes, the harder direction. And then I'll stop the video, but I'll continue working him for another 30 minutes. I think I'm going to do this 3 days in a row, and then try riding him. But this is him. Come on, trot. And trot. There you go. So you see I'm moving around a little, which is what's helping him go forward. I'm not standing still and being as precise, but once he's in the trot, I would really like him to be able to hold the trot on this size circle, which would improve the trot a lot. He wouldn't have to shorten and tighten his neck so much for the upward transitions. He'll start pushing off. Right now he's pulling into the trot. He's a little fast, and he gets a little bit of anxiety. Not much, but he could be smoother, and he could learn to push into the trot rather than pulling, tightening, and rushing. Trot. So the longer he maintains trot, the harder he pulls on my inside rein. So when I'm rebalancing at the walk, one of the things I'm looking for is that he lightens up on that inside rein. He doesn't pull so hard. That tells me he rebalanced a bit, and then I can try my next trot. And you see, even for kind of as challenged as he is using his hindquarter and really having good coordination, what I love about his trot is it has a lot of natural suspension and control. Even though he's not using himself efficiently, it's still a pretty darn good trot with the hock arthritis, with the loose stifle, and with the sort of weak hindquarters. So what that tells me is this horse has a lot of talent, but he just needs some skill development, because it's easy to take a horse with talent and just jump them or show them. And if you don't put in the skill development of better coordination, then at 10 years old, oh, he's going to poop. He's got hock issues, and he looks older than he needs to look. So, got 1 more minute. We'll give it a try or two. Yeah, so already that's a little better. He could make it a lap. Little heavy, little tight, but not bad. We'll do 1 more. Very good. So I'll let him have a lap of walk, and we'll see what the harder side looks like. Good boy. But you see, by not insisting that he maintain the trot when he's tight, when he's rushing, when he's uncomfortable, it just takes the pressure off of him. And so a few strides at a time, every trot transition, whoa, we're getting a little bit more thoughtful at the trot, and he's going to improve his balance from there. Let me get organized here. Okay. So again, I'll let him walk for a lap. And normally, if I wasn't giving you a training update, I would spend 30 minutes on one direction, walk and trot, lots of walking. I don't want him to tire out. I want him to be stable and balanced. But I could play with those transitions up to 20, 30 minutes if it's not too hot and if his breathing is okay. And then I would change direction and do 30 minutes the other way. I don't want to make that long of a video. 30 minutes is kind of a max video. It takes forever to upload. So I'm just going to show you the 5 minutes of walk each way, which is he's doing great, and then the introduction of the trot. But it's not going to show much in 5 minutes, so I need to show you the 10 minutes of walk trot, both directions. Trot. Good boy. Then I'm just going to let him get a little lighter on the inside rein at the walk. And I'm going to ask for the next trot. Trot. And he's a pretty forward-going horse, like all jump horses. If the horse wouldn't trot at all, I might have a dressage whip with me or a short carriage whip to just get the transition. But I hate having to use a whip on the long reins. It's just one more thing I have to deal with in my hands. So I don't mind if he doesn't trot right away. I don't mind if I have to move around a little bit to get him to trot. I just want the walk, trot, on sort of as good of a small circle as we can manage for today. And because this is his harder side, I'm giving him a little more time in the walk in between each trot transition, letting him feel stable again, which is going to give me a better push-off into each upward transition. He's not going to learn it right away. This is a matter of practice and guidance. Trot. I just need him to try, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Very good. You see, when he chooses the downward transition, and he knows it's okay because I don't correct him right away, whenever a horse chooses the downward transition, especially if they're feeling unstable at the faster speed, you get a far better chance of them braking or decelerating correctly. If I ask him to stop, or I cue him to stop, or I give him a voice command, I cut the motion. I don't let him do it his way. So whether I'm lunging or working at liberty or working on the long reins, when I'm developing balance in the trot or the canter, even at the walk, I let them make the downward transition, and then I ask for the upward transition. So I never ask for the downward. My job is the upward and the support. His job is the downward and figuring out how to get comfortable between the long reins, or in the round pen, or on the lunge line. So I'm still giving him the left to right support to help him roll less and keep the hindquarter and back level even during the trot. It's the exact same process, exact same coordination, right? But we need to practice a little bit each speed, because you can see as soon as we go into trot, his oldest habits are there first, the way he knows how to trot. That's about 5 minutes. Okay. So sometimes the more relaxed they get, the harder it is to get them into the trot. But you just do what you need to do to get the transition. That's it. Once they transition, all I'm doing is balancing him between the reins for as many trot strides as he can give me. Then he can break, regain his stability, and try it again. Trot. And you can see he really struggles feeling stable on the right hind much more than the left hind. And trot. Whoop. We'll try that again. So that little give in the right hind leg could just be that he's starting to bend and use the right hind leg, and sometimes those joints are not super stable. It's not hurting him. It's like we're kind of putting some WD-40 back on those rusty joints with every transition, right? And you can see he really struggles more with that right hind. So I want to do as little as possible to get the trot, because I don't want to add excitement. I want him thinking, how do I get comfortable in the trot, right? So we just repeat, repeat, repeat. Trot. Okay, I got about 4 more minutes to show you. And then the next video I'll take will be after a few days of this. I'm hoping, maybe longer, that the trot starts to look a little better. And that will be his warm-up before I ride. Walk, trot, and then I'll start working under saddle with his balance carrying a rider. But I want to introduce the changes I'm going to ask for under saddle. I want to introduce on the long reins. About 3 more minutes. Nope, we're not done. And then I'll just stop the video and finish today's session with him. Ah, that's quite a bit better. That's quite a bit better. And when it's really hot, depending on weather conditions, sometimes I can only work on trot 5 minutes at a time. 10 minutes is kind of the ideal minimum. And as he gets more stable and a little bit fitter, a little bit stronger, I could do walk trot for 30 minutes each way. And the point is not to exhaust him. The point is to maintain the same balance, same stability, same amount of engagement, same level back and hindquarter in the walk, in the trot, on a left circle, on a right circle, and just let him get better at it. The better he gets at it, the better he looks on the long reins, the easier he's going to be for anybody to ride. So when I ride him, I will help be able to give more support when I ride. But when I'm rehabbing for somebody else, I also need to make sure that the horse isn't depending on my riding, that the horse has enough self-carriage that he can cope with anybody's learning curve while the rider is getting their balance. Right now, his balance is tenuous enough that that would be difficult for him. So the reason he was getting really strong jumping is, you can kind of see right here, when he doesn't stabilize through his hindquarters and back, he tightens the neck and rushes, which is just his way of seeking stability at a faster speed. So then if we increased the speed to canter and threw in some jumps, he would get pretty strong on the reins. He did his job, he just got really strong. Oh, you're right, that's 10 minutes. You are correct, sir. All right, so I'll just let him walk. And I'm going to stop the video here because that's a good update. And then, like I said, when I see the trot get a little bit better on the long reins, which will be our work starting today, tomorrow, So today's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I have to go out of town again on the weekend. So Thursday, I may do a quick video update just to show you, even if I don't ride him, just to show you any improvements in the trot through 3 or 4 days on the long reins. And then I may give him the 3 days off again. And then Monday, like today, repeat it. And maybe with the saddle on, maybe with the bridle. And then I'll do a second, well, I'll see how it goes. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. We'll just see how he goes, how he responds. But I'd like the trot to get a little smoother, a little more control in the trot. Not so much pulling, not so much tightness, not so much like rushing into the trot. And as that looks better, then I'm going to do the same long reins with the snaffle bit in his mouth, the saddle on his back. This will be his warm-up, and I'll start riding under saddle, which I will definitely video. So I will give you another update this week. I'm just not sure what it's going to be of quite yet. I want to see how he does. All right, talk to you later.